So, folks, we have to talk about Iran because obviously there's a lot going on with Iran. And I would just like to let you guys know I did a video that went up earlier today talking about how there's going to be some catastrophic economic damage coming, just not just here in America, but globally as a result of the United States and Israel continuing to be the aggressors in this war on Iran. And today we saw the stock market tumble, but it did wind up recovering. Why exactly did that happen? Well, frankly, it happened because Donald Trump started saying things that are just very clearly lies. We'll go into that in a second here, but I wanted to play this quick clip of an interview that Anthony Blinken, who is the former one of the former guys for the Biden administration, and generally I have a lot of disdain for Blinken and his analysis. All right. However, I do think he's correct on this point, and I figured we got a clip of him saying the thing. Let's play the clip of him saying the thing. Here we go.
And David, I think we're looking at a couple of things going forward in terms of where does this go and how does this end. And it seems to me that there are two critical factors to look at: markets and munitions. Markets. Where are the oil markets? Where's the stock market? Where's the bond market? I know President Trump is very attentive to those, and if they go in a southerly direction and stay that way, or in the case of oil, in a northerly direction, that's going to be possibly a limiting factor. Then munitions. There's really a race on to figure out who expends their munitions first and fastest. The Iranians put us in a position where we've used up a lot of interceptors to deal with defense, or even our offensive missiles to take out their launchers, or conversely, did they run out and we still have what we need? And David, I think we're looking at a couple of things.
So he is correct. For as many disagreements that I have with him over how he handled Gaza, for which he does belong in prison forever. However, setting that aside, just wanted to get that out there. He is correct about the limitations and what is ultimately going to decide the fate of Iran, which is, one, munitions. We've talked about this problem, which is that it takes, in some cases, several multi-million-dollar missiles to shoot down one, $10,000 drone. And just from an economic perspective, that's not sustainable. As well as from just a logistical standpoint, it's not sustainable because those missiles are relatively, they're relatively large. They need to be transported there. We don't have very many of them. And when talking about the logistics, it's worth pointing out that despite all of the claims that the Trump administration has made that munitions aren't a problem, it's fine. We have plenty. We can fight this war forever with the munitions that we have, which, by the way, Donald Trump said the other day. Essentially, we could fight these wars forever with the munition stockpiles we have. But I do want to say that if that was true, this report from Al Jazeera, as of an hour ago, would not be happening, which is that, South Korea says it's unable to stop US redeploying artillery and air defenses to the Middle East. A couple of things here. Number one, it is interesting that they mention artillery is being redeployed, because artillery is typically not mounted onto ships. It's typically ground-based. As far as I'm aware, I'm but a humble country streamer, of course. I could be wrong about that, but if it's true that we are taking artillery from, I want to really emphasize this, the Korean DMZ, that represents a possible huge escalation. And two, if we're taking air defenses from the Korean DMZ and the, specifically these Patriot missile air defense weaponry that we're taking back, that indicates that we do not have enough in the Middle East, which indicates that, in fact, we are running low. Well, in a couple of different ways, it indicates to me that they are doing a massive logistical buildup of supplies. Like, if you're taking our already deployed stuff and moving it around, one, it means you're moving an awful lot of stuff, and you have a huge need for it. And two, it's going to be really bad. Because, again, if we're already having to redeploy air defenses to the Middle East, it means that we're burning through our munitions stockpile really, really quickly. Iran is not responsible for US interceptors. The war in Ukraine did. Well, Iran is definitely a huge reason why the munition stockpile is low now, considering we burned through. Within 3 days, the United States military burned through the amount of Patriot missile interceptors that are built in a year, in just 3 days. And so this was so notable to the Ukrainians that Ukrainian news reported on this, because in those 3 days, that was more missile interceptors than the United States has sent to Ukraine for them to use. So, like, Iran is a big reason. And it does also represent something incredibly worrying, which is a weakening of the Korean demilitarized zone and the military force that keeps a fragile power dynamic at play, which essentially stops North Korea from leveling Seoul, and as well as a great deal of northern South Korea. So the fact that we're taking military assets away from, again, what is arguably the most militarized border in the world is a really, really bad sign, both for South Korea, which, again, really wanted to try and avoid this and has been working apparently over the last day or so to stop this redeployment so that they can maintain the power dynamic at play. It's a really bad sign, guys, and possibly destabilizing to the relationship between North and South Korea. So, yeah, that's a whole thing. Keep in mind, even if North Korea didn't have a nuclear weapon, they have so much artillery from the 1950s that they are capable of, like, effectively leveling wide swaths of northern South Korea, just with conventional weaponry alone. So this is really all bad. But because Donald Trump went out in front of the world and said, our conflict here is, our war in Iran is practically complete, very complete, he said. The war is very complete. But then he talked immediately about taking over the Strait of Hormuz. And let me tell you, there is no world in which Iran just gives up that leverage without incredibly bloody fighting.
Can someone tell the real-life devs that drones are broken and need a nerf? Thanks, Donald Trump. Probably.
God. Can someone tell the real-life devs? Yeah. North Korean artillery is defensive. No artillery is defensive. Okay? It is a loaded gun. In the same way a loaded gun pointed at your adversary is defensive, it's exactly the same. The difference is they have enough artillery pointed at Seoul to level it completely and kill every fucking civilian, within 100 miles of Seoul. Like, it's, like, again, I don't disagree that effectively they've deployed this artillery as a form of deterrence, but let's not pretend that deterrence is not predicated on having the ability to blow the shit out of anyone who tries to fuck with you. So let's understand that dynamic properly. Oh yeah, no, well, you can call me Jess. It's also the United States' fault. Like, it's not just Israel's fault that the Iran war is happening. It's also the United States' fault. Like, it is entirely preventable from our imperial core. If we had the ability to prevent this from happening, like, we could influence our elected leadership and stop it. But they have ingrained among the far right contingent of our country just an unsated bloodlust for Iran. They see it as an attempt to easily get a W. They thought it was going to be a Venezuela, and it just isn't. You know, like, we are responsible for this. This is all going to go so poorly so quickly, guys. And not only that, in the midst of all of this, we are being led into this by a guy who's just deeply, utterly alien to the experiences of normal people. Just real quick, I'm going to play a clip for you guys from an event he was at earlier today.
Like voter ID, but, you know, it can be given to you by your daughter. You know, your daughter, she has to be of age, like above 6 years old, she's allowed to say. You had to see some of this stuff is so bad. Like,
what? Bro, the last person on earth who should be standing up and talking about 6-year-olds right now is you. All right? Like, it's weird. It's definitely weird as hell. Okay? Here's the full clip with the context.
Again, and we just keep going with it. And I put that down as a top 3. Look, no mail-in. Now, you have the exceptions for the military, and I would even say foreign base.
He's trying to talk about the Save America Act that he added the anti-trans provisions to the other day.
Military, but for the military, for disability, for illness, and if you're traveling, you know, you have an excuse. And I was lenient on that. But those 3 things. Then I added 2 more. These are best of, you know, best of.
Oh, Czechoslovak Legion, I agree with you. When I talk about the more conservative elements of our government, I am also including complicit Dems in that calculus. We have to understand right now that what is happening within the Democratic Party is effectively a power play between the far right faction of Democrats, represented by Third Way and etc., who are making it their job as lobbyists to effectively convert the far right of the Democratic Party into cut and paste of Republicans like 20 years ago. Like, the real political question that is going to be asked in the near future is going to be within the Democratic Party as the Republican Party collapses and faces oblivion. Like, that's what's happening right now. And the billionaires all understand that, which is why they're funding Third Way in order to coalesce a conservative bloc within the Democratic Party. But I digress.
These are called best of Trump.
And that conservative wing definitely is super happy about invading Iran.
We should also add on to this bill. And so what I've asked Mike to do is to draw a new one with these few things added, and let's go for the gold. Let's not just get one like voter ID, but, you know, it can be given to you by your daughter. You know, your daughter, she has to be of age, like above 6 years old, she's allowed to say. You had to see some of this stuff is so bad. They're doing everything possible because they know if we get this, they probably won't win an election for 50 years, okay? And maybe longer.
Yeah, so he's trying to be transphobic, but he does it in a way that makes him look like frankly, like he was Jeffrey Epstein's best friend. It's weird that he would look that way, considering he was Jeffrey Epstein's best friend. But, like, he's going out there and he's just being weird as hell, talking about 6-year-olds being of age. Like, we are saddled with someone who is genuinely insane. And to hammer this home, I want to play about as much of this as we can stand, okay? Which is a news conference that Donald Trump held about the Iran war about 5 hours ago. Let's take a look, okay?
Powerful and complex military strikes and maneuvers the world has ever seen. Now, you add that up to all...
Also, number one, it's very clear that they're doing everything possible to try and make him look not deathly pallid. Like, they got the orange light on him and everything. Like, he's got the warm, suffused glow light turned onto him. It's crazy.
Of the other things, Midnight Hammer, getting rid of the nuclear threat from Iran, which was a big moment in history, in my opinion. And the great success we've had in Venezuela and all other places. Every place we've gone, we've had tremendous success.
Every place we are, we're successful. It's so good.
But while we're doing all of these things, we're achieving major strides toward completing our military objective. And some people could say they're...
I love that he comes out and says, we've taken enormous strides to complete our military objective. No one knows what the military objective is. He's changed it every single time he's talked about it. Every person in his administration says it's something else.
Pretty well complete. We've wiped every single force in Iran out very completely.
That's just not true. Okay, like, this is the thing, right? It's just that in the current meta of US politics, lying is completely and utterly OP. We need a developer hotfix for this, okay? And, frankly, he's like, yeah, we killed all the military forces in Iran. No one else can oppose us. Meanwhile, Iran literally like a couple hours ago announced that they are from this point on only going to be using their largest missiles. Like they just announced, I think I even have it up here. Iran said as of 4 hours ago, they will not launch any missiles that are lighter than 1,000 kilograms or 2,200 pounds. So they're going to be using their largest missiles from here on out, probably because their missile sites are being targeted and eventually they're going to run out of them anyway, so they might as well use them before they're destroyed. That being said, things are going to escalate over the next, 12 hours or so. And yeah, it's quite bad. And it's very clear that like power, water, etc. is being targeted across Iran. And again, the war continues to expand. So he's just lying here. But that lie was enough to salvage the stock market for several hours prior to it closing. So, I guess just double down on lying. Maybe if he just lies every day, the stock market will continue to stay stable. I wonder how many lies you can tell in order to keep the stock market from crashing.
So Iran's naval power has been sunk. It's on the bottom of the sea. It's almost 50 ships. I was just notified it's 51 ships. I didn't know they had that many. Didn't last very long. And these are fighting vessels. They're meant to fight, but they're not meant to...
Oh, speaking of, apparently the first ship that was sunk off the coast of Sri Lanka was there at the behest of the Sri Lankan government and also was part of a training exercise that the US was scheduled to take part in. And as such, the vessel was unarmed and a training ship. So that is in fact considered a war crime. And also, not rescuing sailors after you sink the ship is also considered a war crime, which the United States did not do. They left them there to die. Which, I want to be clear, when the Nazis prosecuted war crimes amongst themselves, that was considered a war crime to the Nazis. We're literally doing Nazi, like worse than Nazi shit, frankly, to Iran. That's crazy.
Fight against us. We continue to target Iran's drone and missile capabilities. Their drones are way down. Their drone manufacturing's been hit starting today. We know all of the places they manufacture the drones, and they're being hit one after another. Their missile capability is down to about 10%, maybe less. We're also hitting where they make missiles and where they deliver missiles. We've struck over 5,000 targets to date, some of them very major targets, and we've left some of the most important targets for later in case we need to do it.
Some of those targets, by the way, include residential buildings. Just several hours ago, a video, which I will not play for you, emerged of first responders digging a 1-year-old baby out of the rubble of a residential building. Again, no one in the Trump administration cares about this. They don't care that several schools across Iran have now been bombed by the United States. They don't care. Genuinely, our government is monstrous. God.
If we hit them, it's going to take many years for them to be rebuilt, having to do with electricity production and many other things. So we're not looking to do that if we don't have to.
Oh, Asmongold was out there today saying that the United States should attack medics. I mean, that fits with what Asmongold is all about, but also I want to remind people that the United States absolutely does target medics and hospitals, and they have already been struck. So, again, any kind of accountability for this stuff, every single one of these guys in charge of the American military, in charge of currently in charge of the American civil government, like, they all need to be charged. They all need to be prosecuted. They all need to see the inside of a prison cell. Like, it's genuinely insane. Yeah, war crimes upon war crimes. But maybe they'll argue, but we're not technically at war because Congress didn't declare it. Like, God, as I say that in a silly voice, I can already foresee the future, and that is going to be one of the arguments that they make. It's so frustrating. And frankly, we need to purge our military of all these folks who are out there sending messages to troops underneath them about how they're fighting the fucking war from the end of Revelations. Like, it's fucking insane what's happening in this country is what I'm trying to say.
But they're the kind of things that are very easy to hit, but very devastating if they are hit. We are waiting to see what happens before we hit them. We could take them all out in one day, but it's all resulting in a 90% decline in various things, but in particular, Iranian missile launchers and 83% drop in drone launchers. As you know, the drone launchers are pretty well shot, but we're at...
yes, all of the drones are pretty, which is why the drones continue to attack different bases and locations across the Middle East. Yeah, sure. Okay.
Over 90% decline in the Iranian missile launchers, which is very hard to reproduce and very hard to get. And
is it likely there will be a major sleeper cell attack in America? I would say no.
Usually what we were able to do through great equipment, a lot of smart people, as soon as they sent a missile up from a launcher, we were able to knock out that launcher within a period of 5 minutes or less, accurately, right on the noggin. So now we have low-cost interceptors effectively combating Iranian drones.
Oh yeah, we have low-cost interceptors? No, you don't. No, we know how much those interceptors cost. They are not low cost. God, stop.
And our B-2 bombers recently dropped dozens of 2,000-pound bombs to destroy missile launchers all over Iran and buried deep under Iranian soil in many cases. The soil was no match. And we're also annihilating the manufacturing base that the regime uses to build drones and missiles at a rate that nobody thought was possible. We're knocking them out. We know where they all are. We're knocking them out very quickly. We're ahead of our initial timeline by a lot. I would say that we probably would not have thought after a month we'd be here. In addition to the fact that we've taken out the leadership twice and maybe 3 times. And we, as you know, we want to be involved. We don't want another president that maybe wouldn't be willing to do what I'm willing to do for the good of the world, for the good of our nation, to be stuck with a situation in 5 years or 10 years from now. So we think they should put a president in, or the head of the country in, that's going to be able to do something peacefully for a change. They've been doing this for 47 years, killing people for 47 years, whether it's the barracks or even the SS Cole where they were involved. Very strongly, they always denied it. but where they were very strongly involved, and all of the people that died through the roadside bombs died and are right now walking around with no legs, no arms.
Yeah, that's how death works, right? You die and then you walk around with no legs and no arms, right? That's how that works.
A face that's been so badly damaged. The Iranian regime has been attacking Americans and spreading terror for 47 years, and despite these countless opportunities to renounce their nuclear ambitions, which they had,
telephone that housed
just
Joe
a short
Quake is no longer available.
Oh no.
I love you. Ringed Planet.
Appreciated, Squirter General.
while ago, they told Mr. Witkoff, who is standing right over here, they said, they actually said, we want to keep building. Essentially, in a real nutshell, we want to continue to build nuclear weapons. If we didn't knock out Midnight Hammer, if we didn't knock out their Iranian potential, if we didn't do that with Midnight Hammer, they would have had a nuclear weapon. They would have used it long before now. And at a minimum, Israel would have been annihilated. I was very lucky that we had the courage to do that, that we had the talented pilots and the great equipment. The B-2 bombers are unbelievable. We ordered 25 more, by the way, the newer, better version. It's we have the greatest military in the world. We have the greatest equipment in the world by far. You see that no matter where we go. You still need the people, though, to operate it and to use it. And those are the people that we cherish. Even after we obliterated their key nuclear sites in Operation Midnight Hammer, they never negotiated in good faith. They still continued to say, we want to build nuclear. We want enrichment at levels that were unacceptable. And they even turned down an offer for unlimited free nuclear fuel forever for civilian purposes. We had people offering them free nuclear fuel. They weren't interested in that because they wanted to build a nuclear weapon.
Again, I thought we destroyed all of their nuclear making capabilities last year. But no, we are going deeper and deeper into this quagmire.
So instead, the regime was trying to reconstitute its weapons program at a different site. They couldn't go back to where they were, the 3 sites that we obliterated, but they were starting work at another site, a different site, different kind of a site, and that was protected by granite. They wanted it protected. Granite's pretty good, but they wanted it protected by a lot deeper. They wanted to go a lot deeper, and they started the process while rapidly building conventional ballistic missiles. They were going to do it all at the same time. It threatened our overseas bases and soon could have reached even our homeland. The regime's intention was to use this exponentially growing ballistic missile threat to make it virtually impossible to prevent them from obtaining a nuclear weapon. So as you probably saw, they had a tremendous number of missiles, most of which are now being used or destroyed, and very unsuccessful.
Yeah, 90% of the drones are dead and gone.
Successfully used because we have been able, for the most part, to shoot them all down. What incredible technology. The Patriots have been unbelievable, and other things. And the laser technology that we have now is incredible. It's coming out pretty soon. Where literally lasers will do the work of, at a lot less cost, do the work of what the Patriots are doing or what other things are doing. The situation was very quickly approaching the point of no return, and the United States found it intolerable, in my opinion, based on what Steve and Jared and Pete and others were telling me, Marco, so involved, that I thought that they were going to attack us. I thought they would, if we didn't do this.
Oh yeah, if we didn't do this, Iran was definitely about to launch a massive armada from the Strait of Hormuz and slowly maneuver it across the world to off the coast of Hawaii. They were going to do a Pearl Harbor on us. It was only a matter of time. Like, what are you fucking talking about? What are you talking about?
They said they wanted to build a nuclear weapon in a nutshell. I don't know how they'd get it that small, but that's what they said.
Sake, never change. I appreciate you. Thank you.
At the time we did it, I think they had in mind to attack us. And if you notice, they did something which was very foolish, very stupid, I would say. They attacked their neighbors.
What, the statement still stands? Why the fuck are we still listening to this guy? Because he's the fucking president of the United States and launched a unilateral war to invade a country of 90 million people. That's why we're talking about him. He's a fucking decrepit, ugly, awful, stupid pedophile, and he's leading our country into a fucking wood chipper, and while killing innocent civilians all across a major metropolitan area larger than New York City on the other side of the planet. Like, fuck! That's why we're talking about it. It's important. Stop it, guys.
And their neighbors were largely neutral, or at least weren't going to be involved, and they got attacked. And it had the reverse effect. The neighbors came onto our side and started attacking them, and actually quite successfully. If you look at Saudi Arabia, you look at UAE, Qatar, and others. But they were strong and they were smart, but they got attacked. Nobody, when I first heard it, I said, no, somebody made a mistake. There was no mistake. UAE had over 1,000 missiles shot at it, knocked them almost all down. On the very first day I came down the escalator in 2015, I said, quote, I will stop Iran from getting nuclear weapons. And all I'm doing is keeping my promise. Think of that. That was in.
Okay, so we invaded to stop them from having nuclear weapons. We're literally just doing Iraq 2. It's so insufferably insane. Fuck me. Everyone loved Iraq, right? Like, that was so cool. It was so wonderful. God, the little blood clot that could. We're all rooting for you, champ.
In 2015, I said it. It was a threat then and a much bigger threat now, but no longer a threat, not for a long time anyway. We want to keep it that way. As we continue Operation Epic Fury, we're also focused on keeping energy and oil flowing to the world. And I will not allow a terrorist regime to hold the world hostage and attempt to stop the globe's oil supply. And if Iran does anything to do that, they'll get hit at a much, much harder level. I will take out those targets that were easy and that I mentioned just before. We'll take them out so quickly, they'll never be able to recover, ever. If they want to play that game, they better not play that game. In the long run, oil supplies will be dramatically more secure without the threat of Iranian ships, drones, missiles, nuclear menace.
They don't even have a nuclear weapon! Oh my god! We've finally stopped the nuclear menace. The only nuclear-powered menace that has invaded this country. Well, I guess there are two nuclear menaces invading this country. Israel and the United States. But that being said, they didn't have nuclear weapons.
Or anything, so the Strait of Hormuz is going to remain safe. We have a lot of Navy ships there. We have the best equipment in the world, inspecting for mines. Again, most of their ships are down at the bottom of the sea. But we will hit them so hard that it will not be possible for them or anybody else helping.
They were 2 weeks away. Yeah, Iran weirdly has always been 2 weeks away from completing a nuclear weapon. For the last 30 years, they've been 2 weeks away. It's crazy.
Them to ever recover that section of the world if they do anything. In recent years, the regime and its terror proxies have launched attacks on hundreds of commercial vessels. We're putting an end to all of this threat once and for all, and the result will be lower oil prices, oil and gas prices for American families.
There were
We've done that.
exactly as
We've
many
done it. We
nukes
brought
in
it very
Iran
low.
as
This
there were
was just
weapons
an
of mass destruction in Iraq.
Exactly. Well, wait a minute. There were a lot of weapons of mass distraction in Iraq. Wait a minute. Does Iran have 100 million nukes?
excursion into something that had to be done. We're getting very close to finishing that, too. In the meantime, during this brief disruption, the United States is offering political risk insurance to any tankers operating in the Gulf. So we're putting up risk insurance. We'll perhaps go alongside of them
Autocorrected you dirty. I'm so sorry.
for protection. We don't think it'll be necessary if it is. And if they do anything, the price will be.
Iran was so nuclear that every single person in Iran actually had a tiny nuclear weapon. Everyone had a nuclear weapon. That's why we had to attack them. We had to attack them before every person in Iran used their personal nuke to attack the United States. That's why we had to do it, folks.
Incalculable. It will be so great that they will have wished they never did it, because you have to keep the straits flowing. With all of that, it affects other countries much more than it does the United States. It doesn't really affect us. We have so much oil. We have tremendous oil and gas, much more than we need. We have Venezuela now as our new partner, great partner. They've worked out so wonderful. We're working with the administration, the president, and it's a massive source of oil, gas, everything. But
massive source of all these things. Imagine if we could take them. Imagine if we could take all of those things in Iran and make them
Have
ours.
some Bezos bucks, Captain.
Thank you very much, Simric. But, like, he's over here talking like the United States is going to get these things. As if the Iranians, if they thought for a split second that the United States was going to take control of any of those resources, wouldn't burn them to the fucking ground.
we're in a very good position, but very unfair to other parts of the world, like China as an example. I mean, we're doing this for the other parts of the world, including countries like China. They get a lot of their oil through the straits. So we're doing this. We have a very good relationship with President Xi in China. I'm going there in a short period of time. And we're protecting the world from what these lunatics are trying to do. And very successful.
Also, he's having to, like, read this entire thing from right in front of him. Like, he's turning into a corpse in real time.
Successfully, I might add. We're also waiving certain oil-related sanctions to reduce prices. So we have...
Oh! Hey, I wonder what oil sanctions he's talking about. Can we think of any big country he's been really eager to help for a long time? Oh, that's right. He's talking about oil sanctions on Russia. There is also an element here where a large part of what he might be doing here is to try and help out his buddy Putin, you know?
Sanctions on some countries. We're going to take those sanctions off till this straightens out. Then who knows, maybe we won't have to put them on. There'll be so much peace. But when the time comes...
Yeah, we'll have so much peace that we won't even have to put sanctions back on Russia, even if they keep attacking Ukraine.
What do you think the likelihood of China ceasing / having trade with us if this war escalates even further?
Unlikely unless the theater of war greatly expands, which is not an impossible outcome here.
But Jack, I know it's really hard to wrap our heads around it and it's super far-fetched. But have you also considered that Biden is not a leftist?
That was a good pull, Salmon Moose. That was a good reference. Thank you for the tier 4 sub. Very much appreciated. Spot Dogs, thank you for being a member as well. Oh, God. Some days Biden is not a leftist more than other days. And today, Biden is very not a leftist. And if anyone has no idea what I'm talking about, that's fine. It's a reference. It's fine.
The U.S. Navy and its partners will escort tankers through the strait if needed. I hope it's not going to be needed, but if it's needed, we'll escort them right through.
But the Dow is over 9,000.
Danger Vince, thank you for subscribing. Appreciate you.
We have the greatest mine-sweeping ability. We have the greatest ships.
All of our guys are just the best at minesweepers.
And we know exactly where they're placed. We'll get them out of there very fast.
They play it every day.
We hope we don't have any of that. And again, if they do that, if they play that game, we're going to hit them at a level that they have not seen before. So we're winning very decisively. We're way ahead of schedule. Our military is the greatest in the world, with the greatest equipment and the greatest people in the world. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Iran's a very powerful country. They were going to take over the Middle East. If we did not hit them, they were going to take over the Middle East. They had thousands and thousands since their last hit. They had thousands and thousands of missiles and everything else. Most are now destroyed. But they were going to take over the Middle East. Those weapons were aimed at Middle Eastern countries.
They were gonna, we didn't actually invade because Iran was gonna have nukes. We were invading them because they had weapons aimed all over the place. Yeah, all their weapons were aimed everywhere, every country around them at risk. It's true, folks. That's why we invade. Like, he, in the span of this speech, has given so many different reasons for why we're doing what we're doing to Iran, while also announcing, like, help for his good friend Vladimir Putin. Like, just every fucking, 2 minutes, he brings something new up. He's fading so fast, and he's in charge of so many people who are capable of raining so much death, and it's so fucking scary, is what it is.
That had nothing to do with this. They were going to take over
the feeling I would describe is like an even higher stakes version of seeing somebody leave a bar, like just blackout drunk, and get into a car that has like a baby in the back seat. It feels really fucking bad to watch this happen every day, and it's just slow rolling. Like, it's so fucking scary. But Jack, he's just a master of the weave. People talk about the weave as if it's a deliberate strategy on his part and not simply the result of a dying brain. It's insane.
The Middle East, and they were going to try and destroy Israel. So we stopped it with good timing, and we're very proud to be involved in this, and it's going to be ended soon. And if it starts up again, they'll be hit even harder. Thank you very much for being here. Go ahead. Any questions?
So, again, in this speech, the weave is what they call his passing thoughts that become new trails of ideas. Like, he's weaving the same way someone in a bar who's had several drinks too many weaves between different topics. That's what he's doing, except the source of his inebriation is just dementia, Yeah, ideological vomit. Exactly. The issue here is that, like, he's like, oh, yeah, the war is basically over, but, we'll hit them 20 times harder if anything happens. And, like, the war's not over. Literally, Iran today said, the war's not over. We're going to double down and fight it even harder. And then they committed themselves to launching even bigger missiles. Fuck. It is absolutely exhausting day after day. I mean, like, we haven't even touched on the fact that in this war on Iran, Israel has been enabled to just invade southern Lebanon. Like, right now, they're invading southern Lebanon. As of 5 hours ago, there's this story about a Lebanese Catholic priest and his congregants getting blown up by an Israeli tank. Like, it's awful. Here's a report from a Lebanese newspaper that al-Rahi was killed after an Israeli tank fired on the home of a local couple a second time after several people had rushed there to try to help. They double-tapped a Catholic priest. We narrowly escaped the massacre because there were many of us there, said Hannah Daher, a head of council in the village of Klaya, according to L'Orient Le Jour. Despite this, several people were injured, including the priest, Pierre El Rai, who succumbed to his wounds. So much bad is going on here, and it's really difficult to put into words. Because, like, every day it gets worse and worse. And, I mean, just 3 hours ago here, Iranian school, homes hit in new U.S. missile attack. Iran's Mehr news agency says there's been a U.S. missile attack on a school in the central city of Khomeini. It identified the site as Dr. Hafez Khomeini school and said several residential homes around the building were damaged. No immediate reported casualties. Like, it's so... There's no reason for any of this, man. It's so frustrating. It's so infuriating. It's so monstrous. And also, like, when you listen to Donald Trump, he's like, yeah, it's basically over. If they restart anything, you know, we'll come down harder on them. But, like, all the nations around Iran and Lebanon are currently arming for war. Iraq is deploying actual troops to try and prevent the war from spilling over into Iraq. Like, we are... this entire thing is rapidly spinning out of control for anyone to stop. And, yeah, of course, Trump threatens to hit Iran harder if it blocks energy supplies. So, essentially, it's all over, but Donald Trump is going to take control over the Strait of Hormuz, but he doesn't have control over the Strait of Hormuz yet. So, instead, he's going to say, it's basically done. And then say, but it's not going to be done if Iran starts, like, hitting oil ships that are currently all too afraid to go through the Strait of Hormuz due to the fact that they are likely to be targeted and blown up. And, like, none of this makes any sense because it's very clear that the United States is running low on basically all munitions because we're pulling them out of South Korea. And, like, it's insane. It's insane. He's not stopping anything. The war is continuing just as it has been, and he's sitting there being like, it's done, because he saw the stock market going crazy over the price of oil hitting like over $100 per barrel. And, I mean, frankly, there's no way that this ends well. There's no way that this ends well. There is just absolutely nothing stopping this from snowballing into worse and worse scenarios. It's deeply disturbing, and I'm really worried about where this all goes. Can't chicken out of this one. Well, that and the fact that, like, Donald Trump can't choose to just end the conflict because we poked the hornet's nest. Like, the Hornets don't just say, well, you walked away from our nest, we're going to leave you alone now. That's not how Hornets work. It's very frustrating. But, like, this is going to be something where people are going to keep saying, well, it's the worst it can get, and then it's going to get worse and worse over time. Like, that's, like, every day this situation is going to be deteriorating a little bit by little bit, because Iran cannot back down, because they are the defenders in this situation, and the United States isn't going to back down, because if Donald Trump pulls out and oil prices stay high, he knows he's fucked. And so, like, Netanyahu isn't going to stand down, because Netanyahu wants to call elections early and use this rally around the flag idea to win. And, like, the only way this goes in the short term, in my mind, is from bad to worse. And we're already at pretty fucking bad. So, we'll continue talking about this in the days and weeks ahead, but, like, it'd be really great if Congress could get its shit together and stop Donald Trump from pursuing this unconscionable conflict. And I will say, there is a plan currently, as ineffective as Democrats have been, there is a plan to call essential continuous votes for a war powers resolution in order to try and give as many off-ramps as possible and to coalesce enough Democrat and Republican support to curtail Donald Trump's activities. I do think that, especially as things continue to get worse and worse, you're going to find more people in Congress who are going to side against this pointless conflict and the economic damage. And that economic damage, by the way, is only going to accelerate if and when the United States runs out of missile interceptors and Iran can start really, really hitting and hammering home on U.S. targets. So that's essentially where things stand with Iran at the moment. So hopefully that all made sense. It's going to get so much worse. Because again, if we had someone who is sane or rational in office, the chances for de-escalation, at least on one side, could be secured. But like, we've put Iran into a corner where they also can't really de-escalate. There's not really an off-ramp here, at least until more people are ousted from this administration. So, all that being said, folks, if you got anything out of this, hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. I'll try and keep you guys updated as best I can. Leave a comment. Comments longer than 8 words really help the channel grow. And also, please consider joining your local Dems. We got to organize on the local level. Join your local Dems, make them more progressive. Get rid of those conservative Democrats on the local level. We need to start there and build up, okay? We on the left have been far too quiet for far too long, far too meek, far too complacent, and we need to do the hard work of organizing. So show up at your local Democratic meetings, show up at your local DSA meetings. Let's connect our DSA more, with labor, more with working class folks. Let's make our DSAs more effective. Let's make our local Dems more progressive. Let's do the hard work of showing up for ourselves and for our country and for the world, frankly, because we owe it to everyone to fight the fascist forces here in America and, frankly, stop this imperial aggression. We have to do that work, and it's not going to get done if we don't do it. So, all that said, last but not least, check out ImogeneOlivia.com, gender euphoric lingerie designed from the ground up for trans femmes, tested with cis men, cis women, non-binary folks. Check it out. Link down in the description. And new styles, sizes, and colors coming in the near future. Check it out. And with that, let's keep going.
Riverboat Jack is coming to town. All the viewers gather around. Twitch and YouTube and swishy streams. All that content is bursting the scenes. Politics, daily, flame more. Your sense of fashion, you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord.